categories oratory with the Utah Queer Historical Society. My name's Connell, and I'm the chair of the education committee of the Hysterical Society. Becky is my lovely assistant. Who else is here from the society? Terry is our sexetary. Again, welcome. I'm lost. Where am I going? Next month's oratory on March 25th, we will be having Mark Lawrence, who he's been an activist for decades and from way back in the day, and was really instrumental through Restore Humanity with the marriage equality and all that stuff. So really excited to have him come and speak. Though in April, it will not be on the last Wednesday of the month per usual, but the one before that, the 22nd. And we're fighting with the Pride Festival Planning Committee for this space. So it'll either be here or it'll be in another room, maybe downstairs in the youth area if the kids are gone, but it will be here somewhere in this building on Wednesday the 22nd, not the 29th.
And the speakers are?
Gary and Millie Watts.
Oh, great.
Our wonderful straight allies who were the only allies other than Officer Dave from the police department for years during the 80s. Bless their hearts. And so that's really exciting. I can't wait to hear their story because I actually don't know how they came into being.
What is the date for Mark Lawrence?
The 25th.
The 25th of March.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. March 15th, which Sunday at 1 p.m. is our next business meeting for the Historical Society. All are welcome to attend. We are in desperate need of someone to chair our oral history project, which is where you would go to someone's home or to a coffee shop somewhere and interview them and either write down or not videotape, audio tape their life story to go into our archives. And so if you're interested, you have some interview skills, please help us out with that. We'd really appreciate that. And then last but not least, donations are invited. This is free, but if you could throw us some bucks, that would be really awesome too. And I'm going to now turn the time over to Sister Moss.
Sister Moss' nickname is 30, 40 years old. All right. I get to do the introductions and I get to tell how I remember and met somebody. So with Fran, we had basically late 80s and early 90s, I was attending plays in Salt Lake City that had pro-gay themes or gay characters in them that were positive. And the one thing that I noticed was this director's name. This Fran, how do you say that last name? Pruyn? So Fran Pruyn was directing these amazing plays with very positive LGBT characters. And that was so exciting. Those of us who are old enough to remember, it was just unheard of. We were only supposed to be seeing stuff that talked about how we were destined to die an ugly death and soon.
Or we were axe murderers.
Well, yeah, or we were lesbian vampires. Oh yeah, that was pretty cool stuff. Can you do it by the... Anyway, that was the first thing. Then, when I finally got to meet Fran in person, it was as she took over as the chair of the board of directors of KRCL. So I had to wear a KRCL t-shirt from that era. She had to take over from Kate Kendall. And she was also leading us during the time when KRCL acquired their building. It took a strong, intelligent, amazing person to lead that. Very variety of people. KRCL, we were challenged to represent everybody who wasn't represented on regular radio. So it was an amazingly scary group of people with strong opinions. Craig was there causing all kinds of trouble.
As he always has been.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had such an honor and amazement of this amazing, absolutely crazy, wonderful woman. And then I get to start doing the emceeing of the parade. And guess who's riding through on horses that are so beautiful, and explaining to people about these horses and how their parade experience is not dangerous to the animals. So then I found out that her love of animals is stunning. So feminist, director from Amazingment, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and finally mutual friends. So now when I run into her in a grocery store, I actually talk to her instead of cowering and just staring.
Oh, stop.
Thank you. And it's your turn.
Did you mention that I used to be the chair of the Pride Center?
I forgot that part.
I did that too.
She got her chair work from KRCL.
I did, actually.
Thank you.
I did. So what do you want to hear about? Tell me what you want to hear about, because I think I'm phenomenally uninteresting.
First of all, tell me, I want to hear, because, I'm sorry, all of you guys, you can answer. I want to hear about teaching gay lesbian theater in universities.
Well, let me backpedal a little.
Okay.
Okay. So, I came to Utah in 1977 to get a master's degree in arts administration at the University of Utah, and that's a master's degree in theater in arts administration. And truth is, I got to tell you, arts administration's really boring. I mean, it's not. I mean, it was kind of what I thought I should do. I really thought I should earn a living, and that actually has worked out for me, being able to earn a living. But it was not what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was theater, where you really can't earn a living. So, I mean, you can if you're really, really, really talented and really, really, really lucky and really in the right place. And I didn't really want to be any other place. I came to love Utah after I'd come here. I came to love people and individuals because that's the way it was. And, you know, the fact that it was a rather polarized community was kind of both exciting and not so much bewildering as, in fact, it was bipolar. I always thought of Utah as bipolar because there was the conservative and largely religious side, and then there's everybody else who band together to have a powerful, powerful voice. And amongst that is the queer community, but you know, there's the outdoors community, and particularly the arts community, which is where I was going. So there I am, working to get my master's degree in Yon Arts Administration, learning about Yon Business Administration. And I thought I had to have a master's degree. Yes.
What year was this?
1979 is when I got that degree.
79.
Yes, I was in the second class
Wow.
of the arts administration. Don Anderson was an amazing, amazing mentor. He put it together. It was funded by the National Endowment for the Arts for 2 years. It was funded by and I was lucky enough to get one of the fellowships. So I came here under that tutelage, and it was great. I worked with Ballet West. I worked with RDT. It was RDT and Ballet West. I worked with PMT.
And what does RDT stand for?
Repertory Dance Theater.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ballet West Repertory Dance Theater, the Utah Symphony, with just magnificent, magnificent artists. If you don't know how good the arts community is here, you should know it now. You should be proud of it. You should be every bit as proud of it as you are of the outdoors here, because it's phenomenal. I met people like Craig, and Craig is phenomenal. Folklorist, musician, dancer in his spare time. Maybe not right this moment. So, I go back. I regress. So, I'm working on this degree, and I thought, you know what, I have to have a master's project. What's it going to be? So a friend of a friend said, well, we want you to be the business manager of this new theater company that we're starting called the New Shakespeare Players. And that can be your master's project. And so my project was to actually start the company, which meant incorporating it and getting the tax exempt status and putting together a board of trustees and then mounting its first production, which was Hamlet.
Of course it was.
Of course it was. Well, we actually did remarkably well, and I got the degree. And I didn't want to leave town because I was in love, and you know how those things go. And so yeah, you do. So,
In love with.
just in love. Well, in love with a woman who
Oh,
didn't,
okay.
yeah. Didn't, so, also in love with theater. And I had this huge opportunity, and the guys who were in charge then hired me to do it. They took off, went other places. And I took it over, and I became the artistic director, and I said, okay, what's the first show I want to do? And I said, I want to do Children's Hour. It spoke
Wow.
to me.
Good.
Now, that is one show that is actually enormously depressing. Has a tremendously long third act. It was the first full-length show I'd ever directed.
It's classic, though.
It is classic. It's Lillian Hellman. It has a multitude of 12-year-old girls in it. It was every challenge in the world. We did it at the Glass Factory Theater at Aeropress Square.
Oh
Where-
my goodness.
Yeah.
Taking me back.
Well, it was when Slack was there.
Oh,
Actually, we shared the space with Slack, the Salt Lake Acting Company, and we did the show, and the show did, again, remarkably well. Because I had all this time to write grants. I was in school, and we got money, and then people came, and it was kind of, believe it or not, still kind of controversial.
Was there blowback because of its lesbian theme, or?
I gotta tell you, I have been doing theater, and a lot of queer theater, for decades. I mean, since 1979, and I've never had blowback.
Really?
I think the people who had blowback was Theater 138. I think they had blowback. They did amazing. I cannot stand here. I stand on their shoulders, on Ariel and Stu and Tom's shoulders. They did amazing, controversial theater, from Equus to As Is, First Aids plays. They were an amazing group of very, well, particularly Ariel, but gifted artists on their own. So, and I think they had issues. But, when you're doing little theater, theater to as many people as you, and nobody's upset about it, and you're doing it in little spaces, people come because they're like-minded, and you don't really have the same problems. It's the controversy that gets people there. So, and it was my voice, it was my opportunity to talk about some of my own struggles, but through these playwrights, and I did a lot of things other than continue to do a lot of theater that's interesting, that's a little controversial, that isn't queer at all, that's about war, or it's about mothers, or it's about, in fact, now let's get back to the question. I'm being a politician here and just talking about everything else. The question was talk about queer theater and gay and lesbian theater, which I taught at the U. But I wasn't the first. Jerry Rapier was the first, and then I came on and I taught it.
Excuse me, who was?
Jerry Rapier, Plan B.
Okay.
Ah,
Yeah, he was the first who taught, and he's back to teaching it now. And a guy named Jesse Portillo did it after me, and yeah, it was great. It was part of a diversity credit, and I taught queer theater. And fortunately, I've been lucky enough to have actually produced an awful lot of those shows. And so, yeah, Bent. When we did Bent in 1990, I expected people to be just horrified. And the Deseret News was.
Was
deep.
that the Westminster production?
Yeah, that was my.
We need to talk. That was a life changer for me.
Was it?
Yeah.
Who wrote Bent?
Oh, I should be able to answer that.
I should too.
Google it. Google it.
The secretary's doing it.
I can tell you who was in it.
Martin Sherman.
Yes,
Okay.
that was 1990. I also did a bunch of theater that was really I was cautious. I was really cautious. So we were at Westminster and we were the resident company. We went from the New Shakespeare Players to a much more appropriately named organization, Theatre Works West. And we were the resident company at Westminster for 10 years, 12 years, for some time. And I tried to be very cautious about what I put on that stage because I did not want to embarrass Westminster, and I didn't want to get thrown off the campus. But at the same time, there were shows that I wanted to do, so we did them in gay bars. We did a bunch of shows at the Sun that were.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, we did Jeffrey at the Sun 2 or 3 times, in fact.
That was life changing for me. I was there.
Oh,
It was great. Yeah.
We did a show called Is That You, Nancy, which was about Alice B. Toklas and Gertrude Stein. We did shows at the Salt Lake Arts Center when it was the Salt Lake Arts Center before it became UMOMA, or whatever it is now. What is it now? Help me. UMOCA.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes I'm not good to my visual arts colleagues and can't remember. But yeah, we do it in a tiny stage. We did things in a place. We did Sexual Perversity in Chicago at a tiny, tiny place called the Utah Artist Gallery. Used to be on 11th East. I hope they've torn down that place. It was really, really scary. So, we usually did one show off campus, and usually we attracted the right people. And so Westminster grew. Westminster got an incredible bunch of people to teach there and needed all their space. So we no longer could perform there. We performed at a place called the Wooden Dog in Trolley Square for a while. And that was really dreadful, actually. It was such. Randy Barton, who runs the Egyptian in Park City, dear man, good producer, nice guy, visionary, but these spaces were not sound isolated.
Wow.
So you could hear whatever movie, whatever rock band, whatever was going on, and it just was a really challenging place to do live theater. But we did live theater there. We did Bertolt Brecht there. We did Jacques Brel. We did we did a show called Kindred Transport there. We did. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, also Artburn. Did shows at the Artburn. So you're just pretty much everywhere, and you can be a little bit controversial, a little bit edgy. You can talk about queer things, and you can talk about abortion. You can talk about darker matters. You can talk about anything you want as long as you're talking to the right audience. And you're not upsetting them. What you can't do is shock a group who comes in thinking they're going to get one thing and get something else. If they're coming to the Sun, they know what they're getting. But if they're coming to PTC, then they're going to be tremendously upset. And so I never really had a problem. It was, however, meanwhile, I had to live and have a job, and so I was working for an architectural firm, which I still do, actually. It's been my career. I've worked for over 30 some odd years in the architectural community and did this theater thing on the side. And I in the 90s, especially in the early 90s, when there were a lot of people who were sick and there was a lot of controversy, I remember being interviewed by the Tribune and asked, out and out, are you a lesbian? And I thought, well, it's one thing to be out to your friends, it's one thing to be out to your family, it's another thing to be outed on the pages of the newspaper that your colleagues can read. And I remember at that, because I was doing a show at the Sun, I mean, it's one thing everybody knows, but you didn't talk about it at work, Still don't talk about it at work. You don't talk about work at work. And I remember being outed on and thinking, will I have a job tomorrow?
So you did say yes.
Yeah, I wasn't going to lie.
Okay.
I wasn't going to lie, but at the same time, I thought, will I have a job tomorrow? If people read it. And I went to my boss and said, you got to know this is going to come out. And I think he said something like, who reads the arts pages anyway?
So this was at Westminster, not at the U.
We did work. Let me give you a little chronology here of my theater work. We started at the Glass Factory Theater. We became residents of the Westminster College, doing it first at the old Courage Theater, and then later and there was actually an intermediary step there where we actually performed in the old dormitory. That's where Bent was. Then the new Courage Theater, and then in the mid-90s we moved to the Wooden Dog, and then the Wooden Dog, I think, was torn down, or at least transmogrified into something like, a pottery barn. And then in the early 2000s, TheaterWorks West merged with Pygmalion Theater Company. I'm the artistic director now of Pygmalion Theater Company, and we're at the Rose Wagner and have been at the Rose Wagner since 2004. So, Pygmalion Theater Company's mission statement is to give voice to women. And so that's a litmus test. It really is what we do. We try to find scripts and playwrights and actors and directors. I mean, we have men in these shows. Women live with men. and some of them are, we did Sister Dottie. I mean, because you got to do Sister Dottie. You're stupid not to do Sister Dottie if you want to stay in, stay in business. And we did Sordid Lives, and we did, So, sometimes we're a little elastic about that, but we do try to be very true to our mission statement.
So what other things have you done outside of producing plays? How have you been in this community outside of that?
Mostly in board capacities. As Becky said, I was the chair of the board. Yeah, I did. I came after Kate. That was, shocking. All of a sudden she got this job at the NCLR, and I was like the vice chair. What's the vice chair? You don't even have to take notes.
Vice chair of what?
Of KRCL.
Oh, thank you.
I just sat on the board and, I had pizza meetings. It was great. And then she got this great job and she was gone, and I was the chair of the board, and I was the chair of the board through their capital campaign. And then after my, because terms mercifully are up on everything, I was Swerve's board chair for a while, and from Swerve I went to the Pride Center and became the Pride Center board member, and then the Pride Center chair through actually some of the more idyllic days of the Pride Center. We didn't have, we grew the Pride Festival. We started the Capitol campaign.
Which iteration of the Pride Center?
Valerie's, early Valerie.
Is that at the Ruby Snaps or the one further north?
It's the one on Third West.
Well, there were two on Third West.
Yeah,
North.
Yeah,
Yeah,
north, right.
yeah,
north,
fourth
on
north.
West side.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So what year was that?
Oh, I'd say, Ernie, don't do this to me, I can't remember. 2005 through 2010. I think I was there for about 5 years, and I think I was board chair for a really long time because I was elected twice, but once it was another thing. Evelyn Garlington was the board chair, and she quit, and then I became the board chair because I was the vice chair, thinking I don't have and then I was the chair. So I've done a lot of board work. I was the entertainment director for several years at the Pride Festival.
Who did you bring in for entertainment?
Paula Poundstone is the one I remember
Oh,
most.
really?
Yeah, that was a unpopular choice, but it turned out very popular in the long run.
Why was it unpopular?
I wanted to bring a comedian for two reasons. I wanted to bring a comedian because, well, funny. I got tired of listening to the same kind of cover music being done, and I thought, gosh, bring in, no matter how expensive Paula would be, she'd be nothing compared to the writers that we were having to pay on the bands. So, yeah, and you know what was on her rider? 1 6-pack of Diet Pepsi. That's all she had on her rider.
That's so politics, so.
I don't know what a writer is, but
Oh, a rider,
So you get the M&Ms and all that?
it is. That's exactly what it is.
green M&Ms only.
A writer is, okay, you contract with an entertainer, and you contract through the agent. The agent says, okay, here's my contract, and here's the writer of all my demands. And the demands can be everything from, I want, Cuervo and red M&Ms, and seriously, a lot of, and you can spend as much on writers as you can on the entire contract, and hers was a 6-pack of
How do you
Diet
spell
Pepsi.
writer?
R-I-D-E-R.
Okay. Okay. It's like W-R-I-T-E-R.
No.
Okay.
Okay, now you've got these horses in the Pride Parade.
Yeah, well, oh my, oh my, oh my. I have horses. I hadn't always had horses. I was introduced to horses from a partner of mine who had horses, and then all of a sudden I kind of liked horses, and then all of a sudden I had some. And
The chair quit.
what?
Because the chair quit. So.
Yeah, and I had this romantic idea. I mean, it was, and this is when I was like doing the opening ceremony for the Pride Parade. I had this romantic idea that the mayor and the grand marshal and Jackie Biskupski should all ride in on horses. And well, that was stupid. It was so silly. I knew horses at that point, not like I know horses now. Horses are afraid of crowds. Let me tell you, they don't like them. And people who don't ride horses shouldn't.
Never.
So, apparently Kate was on one horse and Jackie was on another horse, and they traded horses, and the horse threw Jackie and caused, some tissue damage that she still suffers from to this day. And so, and somebody had to actually hold the horse that Ralph Becker was on to get all the way through. I mean, the crowds were monumental. They were just swarming around them, and it's just, they were totally freaked out. So then the next year, I thought, okay, I still like horses, and I'd really like horses in the parade, but, let's have people who know how to ride them on them, and let's have them in a place. And so another little sidelight of mine was that I was on a Mustang drill team. Mustangs, horses from the wild that have been gathered in and trained, and we did like drill team stuff. Yeah, wearing cowboy hats and stuff. Really a very broad group of people from a lot of places. Not accustomed to gay people so much, but So we were signing up to do parades, and we did lots of parades. We did parades in Tooele and Murray and Erda, and West Jordan, South Jordan. We did parades. That's what we did. And we trained these horses to do parades. And I said I wanted to do the Pride Parade. Well, they said okay. And wow, it poured that first year. It just poured that first year. We were out in front. That was when Cleve Jones was the Grand Marshal, and the protesters were out in just real form, but we'd get stuck in the rain behind people, and these poor cowboys were not used to being screamed at by protesters. It was but they came back next year. They came back and did it next year, and the weather was better.
Were they anti-gay protesters? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I thought you meant queer people were screaming at this.
No, queer people were fine. No, anti-gay people were protesting. And they were saying things like, your horse is going to hell. And these were very straight cowboys that were just shocked. I think it was a real education for them. But as I said, they came back the next year. And the horses were much better behaved because they were accustomed to doing that. So it's an education for me, too.
What years were that you had the horses?
It was on 3, I think.
What?
03?
No, I think it was 07.
Was it?
I think it was 07.
I don't know.
It could have been 03.
There was, it was like 50 degrees, and I sold tons of coffee that day.
Yeah, it was so awful. It was when Cleve was here. You can look that up.
Did any of the cowboys say anything to you or anything, or comment on the protesters or the invitation?
I think they were just horrified. They were so upset. They didn't say anything to me. That's the thing. People don't say things to you. They say things to their wives. I don't know what they said to their spouses, to the partners, but they didn't say anything to me.
Not in favor of or against what they were being yelled at?
No. No, although I know they were very rattled because I heard from their wives later that they were very rattled. Well, Cliff was really, really upset to have those guys yelling at him about his horse going to hell.
Interesting to be on the other side.
Yeah, well, I thought so.
Yeah.
I thought so.
FYI, Cleve Jones, the year that it rained so beautifully, that was the 2009.
2009, okay.
So it was yours plus hers.
That was the year that I let everybody know the only people who were dressed appropriately in that parade was the quack.
Yeah. 2009, and I was still board chair during that period. So, which is why I got away with having horses. You know. I haven't noticed any horses in the parade since then.
They all went to hell.
Oh, horses don't go to hell.
No, they don't.
But gay men do love to ride stallions.
He went there.
Yeah, nobody in the
Mine
right
was
mind.
funny.
Yeah, I'm a horse person enough that I can say nobody in the right mind wants to ride a stallion in a parade. Except a really, really, really good rider. What else can I tell you? Anything interesting?
Oh, come on. You got to talk about some of the actors from our community that you got to direct. There were some amazing actors and actresses we've dealt with. And where we know them on the stage, but we don't know how crazy some of our friends could be who are on that stage and we have to direct them.
I want to work with these people again. I will never, ever say anything negative about any actor ever.
Oh, I did
They
think-
are so brave. Actors are so incredibly brave.
I'm going to ask you for specifics, just because we're doing history. Bobby Fouts.
Oh,
I
dear
miss her.
Bobby.
Let's talk about some we lost.
I did, is that you, Nancy, with Bobby? I did Quilters with Bobby, did Showdown with Bobby. I did a lot of shows with Bobby. Very, very gifted actor, very good at dialects. Very funny. We did Bernarda Alba, and she was the, you know, I'm throwing these names out like you know them. House of Bernarda Alba by Garcia Lorca. Oh, very, very dark, and you know, set in Spain, and about 5 sisters and their very abusive mother. And I cast Bobby. She looked like the Norwegian transfer student in the cast. She was wonderful, though, just beautiful, beautiful actress. We lost her 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago.
What was the name of the play?
House of Bernarda Alba.
Okay.
And will you say her name for the camera so it gets picked up on the
Bobby Fouts.
Felts?
Fouts. F-O-U-T-S.
Oh,
Bobby Fouts.
Thank you.
Who's some of the others that were in the past that are, because I'm sorry, in my belief system, our LGBT actors and actresses deserve to be remembered.
Well, certainly one who's not acting right now but deserves a great deal of recognition is Raymond Hoskins. Raymond wrote a play for me. He wrote a play for me. Talk about a historian. This man is deep into research. And one day I said, I think we should write a play about the Mountain Meadows Massacre.
Oh, jeez. A musical?
Yes, as it turned out. Yes, it was. It actually was all framed with a storyteller, and they did music. And Jeffrey Price wrote the music. It was big. It was a really big show. Raymond is a fabulous actor. He is a really, really gifted actor, but he's also very facile. He wrote a play called Vapor Trails, which is why I thought, gee, if you wrote Vapor Trails, which is a beautifully elegant piece of theater, one act, you can write about the Mountain Meadows Massacre. He did, but it was, if I could find a script, I would recommend it because it is so thoroughly researched about a very, very difficult period of Utah history. We did very well with that show, actually, except for the people who got up and left. There were a lot of those.
No refunds.
See, that's what I mean. You can't surprise people. You can't surprise people. They were...
Why were they surprised? It's the Mountain Meadows Massacre.
You know,
It has the word massacre in it.
I have learned, and I've learned this more recently than I have in the past, that many church members are more offended by using liturgical music. If you use a hymn, even though it's, common parlance, because it is sacred and it's scripture, then they're offended. I learned that last year. Because I made the same mistake twice. But yeah,
Okay.
after doing Two-Headed. Two-Headed, great show, by the way, by Julie Jensen. Julie Jensen, lesbian. Utah daughter, comes from Beaver, has more theater. Don't go there. Do not go there. Has
You're
more
nasty.
plays produced outside the state of Utah than any other playwright. Two-Headed, again, about the Mountain Meadows Massacre, much smaller. 2 actors, much easier to produce. Beautiful, beautiful piece of theater. And she wrote a show called Mockingbird that was recently produced at the Kennedy Center. Really gifted. You should know Julie. You should know Julie. So.
I was looking at you.
I agree.
Well,
heartily.
it's because you were nodding. And we always.
I grew up with horses and cowboys. I'm there with you.
Thanks. Thanks. So
What-
do you guys go to the theater? And say if you don't, that's okay. I just am curious why you don't. If you don't,
Community theater's the best.
Taylor Mack was the last show I saw.
well, Taylor Mack is fabulous. But why don't you go when you don't go?
I don't go to the big things because I think that they're boring. The Wickeds and the
Well, the $300 a ticket.
Yeah, I
Well,
just
that's a
think
reason
it's-
too.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that it's stupid, and I prefer the down gritty. We had to make this the last minute props. The community theater, and of course, theater in the round. Hale does a pretty good thing. It's a big production, but I just prefer how
900
clever.
seats. 900
Yeah.
seats. Yeah.
I like how clever it is when you don't have a lot of money, when you're in the round, when you don't have a curtain to hide behind, and when you don't have a big benefactor to hide behind.
Bless you. You are going to go to theater heaven.
Yay! Our horses are there.
I think the thing that keeps people from going a lot is they don't know what they're gonna go see, and they're afraid, and they have to spend money to go and be disappointed or whatever. I think it's the information that keeps people away.
There's no Rotten Tomatoes for
Right,
live
and
theater.
it's interesting because a lot of good things go by, people don't know about them till it's too late.
Well, community theater's the best because there's always like 1 or 2 actors in every cast. They're just diamonds.
Mhm.
And I went out to the Draper Theater's production of Sweeney Todd. We did all the Sweeney Todds this year, and the Sweeney just, this young, skinny 19-year-old kid comes out, and I'm like, oh, he's not gonna be able to pull this off. And he just blew me away.
Okay, here's something you need to know about Utah. We have incredible actors.
Yes.
Yep.
We have an incredible training system, and we have incredible actors. And I'm fortunate enough to work with very, very gifted actors, which makes my job a lot easier. And I do small casts because it's more affordable, and because most theaters now are doing smaller casts if they're not doing musical comedy. Musicals. Because it's just so much more affordable, and it's actually speaking to, it's issues driven.
And I think spending that, 12 or 15 bucks per ticket in community theater, it means so much more than dropping a $300, ticket to go see Wicked or any other show that's in the big theater over here. It means so much more because they depend on those funds so much more, and so it has a larger impact for me.
Well, that makes my heart feel good. It does.
My work here is done.
It is.
So tell us about the vagina monologue. How did that work?
I didn't do it. I've never done vagina monologues. Babs did them. She did it a lot there for a
Babs?
while. Babs DeLay.
Oh,
Yeah, Babs did it. But
I thought you did it.
you know, that's okay. I'll take credit.
She's not here to defend herself.
I did a show. I did a show called Some Men, completely out of mission, completely out of mission. But it was so great because Terrence McNally came. He was here, and it was a Pride Center benefit. So, yeah, it was fabulous. And you know, it was a stage reading in some of the same way. Vagina monologues has not aged well. Did a show called A My Name Is Alice a lot and made a lot of money on it until it aged out too. You know, you just have to kind of stay on top of what you can afford, what you're doing, what the audiences will buy. And people have so many opportunities for entertainment now. You know, you can stay home and watch anything you want.
Yeah.
So if you break your pelvis, it really, you know, I understand. And you get tired after a while, too. You don't get tired of supporting things. You think that's a great thing. I have a friend in a show right now at Slack, and I'm thinking, I really need to go see it. And I'm thinking, but it's a work night. I want to stay home.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know? So I get it. I really do. It's hard. I wish I could tell you I think I was something. No, I'm glad I can't tell you I think I'm something special. But I can tell you there are some really special artists in this community that you should not miss. I mean, we are just a wealth. Bachauer. How could I not talk about Bachauer? Gina Bachauer, international piano competition. We do this thing every year called Rose Exposed. And if you don't go to anything else, you should go to Rose Exposed. Rose Exposed is the 6 resident companies of the Rose Wagner Theater. So that is Repertory Dance Theater, SB, Stephen Brown. I think they're not calling themselves a circus anymore. I'm not sure, but they did for a while. Plan B, Pygmalion, Gina Bachauer. Who am I missing?
Woodbury.
What?
Roderick
Roderick Woodbury.
Woodbury.
Yeah, thank you. And we do a show that we put together once a year. Last Saturday in August. And it's usually about a theme, and the theme can be anything topical, or it can be flight, or it can be, and we have the aviary come in. And it has so opened up my eyes to what a phenomenal gift we have in the Gina Bachauer piano competition. They are amazing. They sell out in Tokyo, they sell out in Singapore, and they can't get audiences in Utah. It's because Utahns don't value their own native artists, even though we have amazing, the dancers, the modern dancers, the ballet dancers, the actors. They are so bloody good, and deserving of not. I mean, it's more than just deserving. You'd enjoy it. It's like I'll drag people to some art form they never go to, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I like that better than I thought I would." Yeah, it was okay. It was really okay, and it's affordable.
Yeah,
You know,
it sure is.
So what's this show where you all
Rose Exposed.
Rose Exposed? And when is it?
It's the last Saturday of every August.
Okay. And Gina she's a pianist?
Gina Bachauer. Well, Craig, talk about Gina Bachauer because
I can't, but she was amazing, and I think she was featured here in a concert, which is how everyone fell in love with her, and then she came back and she helped organize this piano competition, but I don't really know the details.
And it's
nor do I. So I was hoping Craig
every
did.
other year.
And she's Lesbian?
No, I don't think so.
But do they have the competition?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Just an
in
artist,
Oh,
just, you
When
know.
you said
Just-
you were saying that this community, and I wasn't sure if you meant the Utah community or the queer.
I'm sorry, I actually embrace the entire community, and because they come to my shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes,
All right.
I want the queer community to come to my shows more than they do. I do an awful lot of queer shows, or shows with queer characters. I'm doing a show called I'm not directing it. We are doing a show called Body Awareness in May. It opens May 1st. It's about a lesbian couple, and they teach. One's a high school teacher, or the other teaches in a small college, and they have Body Awareness Week. And people come in and they give speeches, but they also have this famous artist, photographer come. And because they're poor, they have to stay with them. And it's a comedy. And it's about what's porn and what's art. This guy does nudes. That's all he does is nudes. But he gets people to pose, and they're free, and they're comfortable doing it. So what's porn and what's art? One of the partners says, "No, this is awful," and the other says, "No, I want to do it. This is great." But yeah, what's great about this is they're pretty just an average couple. You know, having an average couple fight. You know? And more I'm seeing art evolve that way. It's less and less fraught. We're gay. If we're fraught, we're unhappy. It's more and more, yeah, we have some special issues, but not every moment of our life is around these special issues. It's, you know. So, Two-Headed, the show I did in the fall, which is about the Mountain Meadows Massacre, is also about a 19th century woman who's in love with another woman. It's kind of a by the way, because, you know, the Mountain Meadows Massacre is a big part of it too, and it obscures it a little, but yeah.
Are you an actor?
Oh, no.
You've never been on stage?
Oh, yeah, I have.
Oh, okay.
Everybody starts out as an actor. I was a pretty bad one.
Well, you're such a drama queen.
That's true. That is true. No, I know what a good actor is, and I get to work with good actors every day, and they are amazing. And they're gifted in ways that I can't resonate in that ability to get inside another human being's soul and interpret it. Everybody just sounds like me when I'm on stage. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, you don't get a degree in theater without being on stage. And I did a little performing with, yeah, here and there. Because you gotta. But I always wanted to direct. I never really felt the need to be in front of a lot of people. You guys make me nervous.
It's that kind of crowd.
Have I bored you enough now?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Fran, I knew you'd charm them.
It's wonderful.
Well, and you said I'm nothing special, but I mean, you've mentioned, you know, a lot of productions that have touched everybody in this room. And, you know, and if you weren't doing it, somebody else would have, but you know,
Maybe.
every
Maybe
producer
not.
has their touch.
Thank you. That's a very kind thing
Yeah.
to say. That is very kind. I think at one point, if I weren't doing it, nobody would have.
Yeah.
Actually, now we're all just grabbing at, you know, the next, you know, why did you get fun home and I didn't get fun home?
So not an actor.
Yeah, well, a little bit. Yeah, but back in the day, no. Jeffrey, you know, Jeffrey was not that easy to produce. And, you know, we did do it in a bar. And Bent, certainly, I did not have my neck out there with that one. So, yeah, I don't know that, but...
Well, and with Jeffrey, the movie had come out about 2 years prior.
It's not
And so, you know,
nearly
21-year-old me was like, oh, he's not going to be as good as Patrick Stewart. Of course not. But it was still a great
Me
production.
too.
It was still a great production.
Well, yeah. And I think that I actually think the play's better than the movie. Some things just work better on stage than they do as movies, and they don't translate well. And some movies are a lot better and shouldn't be on stage. They make them into live things, but
Please do something here.
Crap.
Could you stage something here?
you know,
in
I
this space?
actually did a production at the Old Pride Center.
You did.
I did Stop Kiss. Stop Kiss is, yeah, it's about a woman, it was about gay bashing.
Mm.
It was a lovely show. You know, it's so hard to do things outside of theaters.
Yeah.
You know, stage readings. Oh, we used to do breast dialogues here. You know, we didn't do vagina monologues, but we did a thing called breast dialogue. Swerve did it.
Huh.
And we had a writing workshop, and we created the scripts, and then we performed the scripts here. So I'm, you know,
Do a reading here.
I'll do a reading here. I'd love to do a
That'd be
reading
awesome.
here.
That's-
What do you want to do? What do you want to see?
Bent.
Ooh, holy shit. Wow.
Yeah.
As a reading, not as acted out. It's hard, it's painful, but it's such an amazing play.
It is a beautiful
Table
piece of
reads can be
theater.
so much fun.
What?
I said table reads can be so much fun.
It's a beautiful piece of theater. It
Yeah.
is. It's a lovely piece of theater.
I kind of like your idea, Becky.
Especially since I wouldn't have to ever be bugged to talk it, speaking of it. No, it is an amazing, stunning, and I think it's one of the plays that LGBT people should know by, we need to know it.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones, every age. Because it captured,
It's queer history.
Yeah, a gay man might be the right one to direct it, though.
yeah,
Yeah, you might want a Jerry to direct it, or, you know, just because David Spencer, boy, what a great actor. Yeah, just because when I did it, I thought it was enough that I was gay, you know,
Yeah.
that an outsider, that I was coming from, but I don't, in my sagacity and oldness, I'm thinking now maybe it's a gay man's story, and it should be shown, it should be directed through that lens. Barely. But I'll do a perfectly good lesbian story for you. I mean, there are a lot of those. I'd be happy to. Or mixed. Can you believe it? There's an idea.
quilt done as gay and lesbian people instead of the actors as it is. With the gay LGBT family doing
Quilters?
the quilt, quilters, would that be just a heck of a lot of fun?
That's a lot of music. Yeah. Cool.
Is there any trans theater that's going on these days that?
You know,
'Cause I don't really
I can, yes, the answer is yes. There's a beautiful script written by a local playwright. And, you know, I know some trans artists that actually talk about getting scripts together and then get absorbed in other things. And they're professional artists, they're very gifted. But, you know, I'm not, you know, a script isn't coming to mind.
Okay.
There are plenty of good stories that are just waiting to be told, though. And I can think of a one-man show that, one trans man show that actually did really well in the Solo New York festival, but it originated here. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. You are so kind to show up and listen to me ramble. I just really, really appreciate it.
So, as you know, last year we did a lot of the activists and the political people, but this history is about all of us. And I'm hoping that having Fran tell her story shows there were LGBTQIABC people, all elemental P's, all through, and the things that we were doing, and then to suddenly discover each other and not to be alone. And Fran was one of those people for me, because I'm sorry, when I figured out the thing that was different about me, according to the library, I'm age 12, I looked it up and I found out that I was a person born out of time and place. I was supposed to be living on some weird island in the Greeks, and that I was supposed to understand that poetry, and I didn't. So, thank you, all of you. Please keep coming back and telling others to join us. And now, as always, it's always about me. Can somebody give me a lift home? To my house, not yours.
Where do you live?
I live up in the Mill Creek area, right by Iceberg Drive-In. Thank you, Kathy. Okay.
Awesome.
And thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Thank you all.
And I'm glad I learned more about you. I forgot to tell you one more thing about her. When I run into her in the grocery store, she must have a lot better food than the stuff I have at my house. I've looked in the cart.